the Zorba website. Yeah, this is Zorba website, zorba-xquery.com, and you see here you have to scroll down to read the description of the project, and with 2 lines of XQuery code, you get everything a little bit cleaned up. And more concretely, this is a different kind of data you can find in the nature. Relational data, semi-structured data, structured documents, unstructured data. And the question is, how do you provide a single framework to deal with this heterogeneity of data? So for relational data, it's pretty much mystery solved. But what about everything else? And that's exactly the problem we address with XQuery. We want to provide the same functional characteristic from relational database to any kind of data. So a couple of words about XQuery. It's a family of specification from W3C. The language has an extremely powerful support for queries, updates, full text search, and scripting. It is a unified framework for all layers of a traditional software architecture, database, content management, middleware. Last but not least, it is a functional programming language that can be optimized and parallelized. So the Zorba project is open source. Oracle is contributing to it, 20 AtomSec, we're a startup company, and the Flower Foundation, which is a non-profit organization that supports open source project in the XML area. Couple of words about the internal of the project. One thing we are trying to do is to be up to date as much as possible with the W3C specification. So we're implementing XQuery 1.0, XQuery 3.0, update facility, scripting extension, full text. We're also trying to provide a rich programming experience by providing a lot of module libraries, OAuth authentication, PDF generation, image processing, emails, REST APIs, you name it. And since you can command your database management from XQuery, one thing we are doing is providing a pluggable store so you can use any kind of storage behind XQuery. So you can use PostgreSQL, the file system. At 20 AtomSec, we're using MongoDB. And on top of that, you can use it from different kinds of APIs, C++, Java, PHP. And since XQuery is our favorite programming language, we also use XQuery as a host language for XQuery. Very quickly, a couple of code snippets. This is the main expression in XQuery. It's called the flower expression. It is an acronym for let, where, order by, return. So here I'm selecting entry nodes where the author is anonymous, ordering by time, and I return the title. This is an update expression. Here I'm inserting a hello world node into the entries variables. This is a full text expression. So I'm going to match the word meal in the phrase breakfast of champion using WordNet thesaurus. So this expression is going to return true because of the relationship narrower term. So meal is breakfast is a narrower term of meal. This is how you start a web server with Zorba. So you can pass a closure as parameter, which is a new feature in XQuery 3.0. And so for each incoming HTTP request on the port 80, it's going to call the handler function receiving the HTTP request as parameter. You can also declare annotations to your functions, much like in Java annotations. And we provide a reflection API, so you can read annotation names and values to functions. So here, I'm going to use the reflection API to match HTTP request to XQuery function invocation. So let me show you a small application I built in XQuery. So this is a small guestbook, so I can add an entry. Okay, so that seems to work. A couple of interesting things about this application. First, if you look at the source code, it does not run any lines of JavaScript. So client side, we execute also XQuery. We embed the XQuery processor into in JavaScript, and we execute the code. So it provides a strong language to deal with HTML. And what happens here, for instance, is that I catch an event on the submit button, which is going to call the submit function, and I'm going to seamlessly invoke XQuery functions that are defined in the server. So to go back to the application, so you have a little search box which leverages the full text feature of XQuery. So I can look for the word fish. Okay, so you have this quote from Nemo. And I can use the tilde operator to match narrower terms of fish. So here you see there's this new entry that has been matched by the full text expression. You can use also logical operators. So I can look for fish or pig. And I can also, okay. And I can also exclude the word food. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And last year, a student from Mannheim wrote AWS client library in XQuery. And once it was done, he compared the number of lines of code to write the same library in XQuery compared to the Java client library. And for the same level of functionality, it took 80% less code to build the library in XQuery. This is a PHP comparison. And if you look at this code snippet, you can get a feeling of why XQuery is so much productive. Here you have Java code, SQL expression, XPath expression, JavaScript, HTML. And with XQuery, we are going to use a single programming language on all layers. So that was a lot of angle brackets you've seen, and what about JSON? In the Zorba development trunk, we are providing a first-class support for JSON expression. We are extending the XQuery data model to support the JSON data model. So let me show you an example. So here you see in this query, I have some JSON data, and the language supports first-class support for JSON constructions. So I have a couple of statistic data in JSON format, and for each statistic, I'm going to do a group by URL, and I'm going to compute the average response time. So let's execute the query. Yeah, it works. So we get 005. And so the takeaway message, we think that XQuery has the most powerful data model you can find. And as you've seen, it has a first-class support for XML, JSON, text, and it's also a unified framework for all layers of traditional software architecture. And as it turns out, this flexibility is extremely productive for building applications. And because it's a declarative programming language, it has a lot of opportunities for optimization and parallelization and for really high-speed performance. So there is a young man named Dimitri, and he was quite the internet sensation in 2011. And let's see his take on XQuery. So that's it. I hope you check it out at zorba-xquery.com. Thank you very much. Thanks.